my name's Emma and I'm a huge book nerd.
You're my library, always open for business, but you never show it. You're just sitting with it, but I know the score, and you're killing it.
Ooh, there's a fly. Someone is mowing outside. Today I'm gonna do the musical theater book tag because, as you might know from my booktube newbie video, I am a huge theater person. And also hence why I'm wearing my Wicked shirt today. This tag was started by Something Like Lydia. I'll leave her channel linked down below if you want to go check out the original video. Nobody tagged me to do this, I just figured it would be really fun because it's a musical theater book tag and I love musical theater and straight plays. Alright, so the first question is related to Wicked, and it is, what is your favorite fictional friendship? Because Glinda and Elphaba does. I cheated a little bit and I picked more than one book for like basically all of these questions because I thought it would be a little more fun that way, and I'm also really indecisive and don't have favorites. So the first friendship that I picked for this is the friendships in It by Stephen King. And that's Beverly, Bill, Richie, Ben, Mike, Stan, and Eddie. They're the kids in Derry who try to save the town from it. And they just have a really interesting friendship dynamic. It's really fun, and a lot of them say really funny, clever things that I just like find myself cracking up reading the book. Especially Richie. Richie's the one who does impersonations, and I just think that it's like really entertaining. So the next book friendship that I absolutely love is Ponyboy and Johnny from The Outsiders. And oh my gosh, if you've never read this book, you have to. Like, what are you doing? Go read this book. The last time I read this book, I was sitting in a Starbucks, a very public place, and I just started crying in public. It was fine, totally fine, not a problem. Anyways, Johnny and Ponyboy just have the sweetest friendship, and it develops for many reasons, but they're both the smallest boys in the gang, and they both get caught up in a crime, and they have to run together. And that kind of bonds them together, and if you know the famous line, "Stay golden, Ponyboy," yeah, Johnny says that. Oh, so good. Love it. My next favorite fictional friendship might be a little bit odd, but it's from Homer's Odyssey, a fearless feline tale, or how I learned about love and life with the blind wonder cat. And my sister got this book for me for Christmas this past year, and I kind of saw it and I was like, okay, because I'd never heard of it, and I was like, this seems like a weird book. And my sister loves animals, so I figured she just got it for me because it's about a cat. But oh my gosh, this book was so precious. And then all of a sudden it got like really powerful and inspirational toward the end. Like, oh, this book was very surprising. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars, but it's a really good book and I was not expecting it to be. So my favorite friendship from the book is our author Gwen and her cat Homer. It's just a really sweet book, and they have a really special bond. So if you are looking for a cute read that also packs a little bit of a punch, I would actually really recommend picking this book up. I feel like no one knows about it, and it was really cute. My final favorite fictional friendship, it's a tongue twister, dang, is from A Little Life, and it's Jude and Willem. I don't really know what to say about this book. It's really good. It's also kind of hard to read because it's really painful, and it follows a very painful journey in our main character Jude's life. But he and Willem are friends for his entire lifespan, and their friendship is just so special, and I don't want to give anything away, but if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. It's just, I wish there was someone in my life who loved me as much as these two love each other. It's great. It's so good. Okay, so on to the next question. This one is inspired by the musical Sweeney Todd. It's about the demon barber of Fleet Street. And the question is, who's your favorite villain? Literary villain, I think. Technically, I don't know what the question is. Something about who's your favorite villain. I think this is kind of a weird question because I don't read a lot of books that have like your like villain character. I read a lot of books that have like the nasty character, but I feel like villain specifically is linked to fantasy a lot of the time. So my answers might be a little bit interesting, but first book I wanted to mention was Between Shades of Grey. The book is about the Russians putting people into work camps. There's a guard in the book who, his name's Nikolai Krevsky, I think. I forget his last name off the top of my head, but his first name's Nikolai, and he's one of the guards, so I mean, I guess technically he's a villain, but then he also realizes that what he's doing is really wrong. So he starts helping the prisoners and basically just recognizing that they are people too, which really helps them. So in that way, he's not really a villain, but he's a guard, so yeah. Anyways, my next favorite villain definitely fits in the category of villain, and it's Pennywise from It by Stephen King. I just think that he is a brilliant, he's a monster actually, like not even a villain. That's not the right word, but like he's so clever and creepy and also kind of funny, honestly, and I just think that he's really well crafted and put together, and I think Stephen King just did an absolutely brilliant job creating the first killer clown, other than John Wayne Gacy, who was the real life killer clown. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's a real serial killer and he's very scary, and he probably inspired Stephen King to write It. Just so you know. This one, now we have a real villain, I think. And that's Professor Umbridge from the Harry Potter series. And I grabbed the 7th one off the shelf because I don't have the 5th one with me right now. And the 7th one is maybe my favorite. I don't know. It's so hard to say. They're all really good. I say she's my favorite because she is the villain that I have hated the most in my entire career of reading books. I have never hated anyone more than I hate Professor Umbridge. And if you, I hate her. I hate her so much. That's why she's a favorite villain. The next question comes from the Phantom of the Opera. And the question is, what's your favorite fictional love triangle? And this question was really hard for me because, first of all, I do not read a lot of romance at all. And when I do read romance, it tends to stick between just two people. So I kind of had to like scroll through my Goodreads and like look for books and think like, does that have a love triangle in it? Because I could not think of anything. But I did end up coming up with 2 books. And one of them I will go ahead and start with because it's pretty predictable, but that is also Harry Potter, and that's Severus Snape and Lily Evans and James Potter. I think that's all I have to say. The other book that I selected for my favorite love triangle is Highly Illogical Behavior. That love triangle is Solomon, Lisa, and Clark. And Highly Illogical Behavior, if you don't know, is about a boy who cannot go outside because of severe anxiety. And this girl, Lisa, takes him under her wing as her like personal project because she wants to be a psychologist. And the book is actually really, really great. I highly recommend it. I can't say any more because it's going to give things away, but if you've read the book, I think that's a pretty awesome love triangle. The next question falls under The Lion King, and that one is, what's your favorite fictional sidekick? And for that, I had to stick with my beloved Harry Potter because there are so many good side characters in this book. All of them. They're all amazing side characters. But I just especially wanted to point out Neville Longbottom because, oh my gosh, it takes courage to stand up to your enemies, but it takes so much more courage to stand up to your friends. The other duo is Fred and George Weasley. And I'm holding the 7th book, so I'm gonna start crying now. It's okay. It's fine. So sorry. Every sidekick in Harry Potter is my favorite sidekick. The next question, I love the musical that she chose to associate with this question. The question is, what is your least favorite ending? And the musical associated with it is Grease. If you've seen Grease and you don't know why the ending is horrible, I don't know if we can be friends. The ending of Grease is just really problematic. Okay. That being said, I'm gonna start out with a book that the ending to me was really problematic, and that is All the Bright Places. I hated that book because the ending, which I can't say anything about because it's so spoilery, but I hated it. I thought it was really distasteful and dangerous. It pissed me off. I thought it glorified what happened, and it was just really poorly handled, in my opinion. And I know that's a pretty unpopular opinion because that's a really popular book. I did not think it handled the topic well at all, and I think the ending was where it got really problematic for me. The other book I want to mention under this umbrella is Paper Towns by John Green. The ending was so anticlimactic. Like, the whole thing is a journey to go and find her, and then again, I don't want to talk about the end in case you haven't read it, but like, it was just like, really? That's all? Like, ugh. And the final book that I kind of want to mention here is Cujo by Stephen King. And I didn't hate the ending of this book. I liked the ending of this book, but then I saw the movie, and I honestly like the ending of the movie a lot better. Maybe it's just because the movie like intentionally plays for people who've read the book, so it still surprises you, and it's just really good. If you've read Cujo, the book, and haven't watched the movie, you should watch the movie because it's a really interesting experience. It was like designed for people who've read the book. The next musical is Matilda, and the question is, what's your favorite book adaptation? This question she left really broad. It could be movie or play or musical or whatever, because Matilda is a musical and a movie actually, adapted from a book. I wanted to talk about a play that probably not many of you know about because it was written by a professor at my university a couple years ago now. And that's Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood, and one of my playwriting professors, Jennifer Blackmer, adapted this into a play that I actually had the privilege to be a part of the first production of at my school my freshman year, and it is brilliant. She did such a good job. This book is really interesting, and this is becoming a Netflix original series as well. So you've probably heard about Alias Grace because it's becoming a Netflix original series. But there's a play, and it's actually being put on in Chicago in this upcoming year. I believe it's in October, I think. If you live around Chicago, please go check it out. It's Alias Grace, adapted by Jennifer Blackmer and directed by Karen Kessler. The last question falls under Les Mis, and the question is, what is your favorite book death? So I'm just gonna say that the following answer will contain spoilers for It by Stephen King and Harry Potter. I'll do Harry Potter first because I know many of you can stick around for it and not as many can stick around for It. All of the deaths in this book are absolutely heartbreaking, but there are some of them that I think J.K. Rowling did brilliantly. For example, I think it's brilliant that Dumbledore died because he's the god figure for like several of the books, and you expect him to live forever. It's just kind of like embedded in what you expect, and then when she kills him off and Harry has to go on without him, it's so shocking because he's the god figure and then he's struck down and he doesn't come back to life. And then also Fred, my beloved Fred. It's just, his death is just so well written. It's designed to break your heart, and it does, and it's just so brilliant. So brilliant. That's all I have to say. Moving on to It. So if you haven't read it and you don't want to be spoiled, goodbye! So the book death that I loved in It was Eddie's death, because it just, oh my gosh. So Eddie's death is just the freaking best written death line I think I might have ever read, except for maybe Fred's death line, but okay, I'm just gonna read it for you. Eddie closed his eyes, thinking how to finish, and while he was still thinking it over, he died. There's no lead up to this. You don't know he's gonna die. You just assume that he's gonna be fine because everyone else has survived, and then all of a sudden, no, he just dies. Mid-thought. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Oh, those are all the questions, and that's all I have to say about my favorite things books related to musicals. My brain is dying. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any play recommendations, musical recommendations, book recommendations, any of that stuff, please leave them in the comments down below, and like and subscribe so this thing can keep going because I'm having so much fun. Oh, and while I'm here, while I'm filming this right now, currently, I think 112 subscribers, which is just like shot up, and I'm so excited that I already have 100 subscribers. How did that happen? So thank you all so much. I love you, and keep it up and leave more comments down below because I love getting to know you and talking to you about nerdy things like books. Bye!